Have you ever watched an old movie, spotted a familiar face, and suddenly thought, wait, what happened to that actor? Hollywood is full of bright stars, but some of the biggest names quietly vanished from the spotlight for years, sometimes decades. Today, we're diving into real stories of actors who completely disappeared from the industry, why they stepped away, and what they look like now. And trust me, some of these reasons are surprising. So grab some popcorn, get comfortable, and let's jump right in. Brendan Fraser. From Hollywood golden boy to quiet comeback in the late 90s and early 2000s, Brendan Fraser was everywhere. The Mummy, George of the Jungle, Blast from the Past. He was the charismatic, physically comedic star that audiences loved. But suddenly, around the mid-2000s, he just disappeared. The truth is, Fraser's break wasn't by choice. A combination of physical injuries from years of stunts, health problems, personal struggles, and a difficult industry incident pushed him away from the spotlight. For almost a decade, he barely appeared on camera. But today, he looks different in a grounded, healthier way and has slowly rebuilt his career. His emotional comeback in The Whale sparked a massive wave of support, reminding everyone why they loved him in the first place. Brendan's story isn't just about vanishing, it's about rising back up. Cameron Diaz, the A-list star who walked away voluntarily. Cameron Diaz wasn't just popular, she was everywhere. Charlie's Angels, Shrek, The Holiday. There's something about Mary. At her peak, she was one of the highest paid actresses in the world, but then she just stopped acting. No big announcement, no farewell, no final role until years later. The reason? She said she was exhausted by the industry, constantly filmed, constantly traveling, and constantly scrutinized. She stepped away to focus on her personal life, marriage, motherhood, and wellness. Today she looks peaceful, relaxed, and in a much healthier place both mentally and physically. She still pops up for occasional projects, but she's no longer chasing Hollywood. Instead, she's enjoying life on her own terms. Rick Moranis. The most heartwarming disappearance if you grew up in the 80s or 90s. You definitely saw Rick Moranis. Ghostbusters. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Little Shop of Horrors. He was a comedy legend. But in the mid-90s, he vanished completely. The reason? His wife passed away, and he chose to step back from acting to raise his children as a full-time single father. It wasn't a scandal or burnout or Hollywood politics. It was a genuinely heartwarming and selfless decision. For years, he stayed out of the spotlight almost entirely. But recently, he's made a slow return, appearing in commercials and voice roles. Rick looks older now, gray hair, glasses, but still has that same charming, humble presence fans loved. Shelley Duvall. Duvall was once one of the most unique and captivating actresses in film, from The Shining to her award-winning roles in Robert Altman's movies. She had a hypnotic presence that stood out everywhere she appeared. But the pressure of Hollywood, especially the notoriously difficult filming of The Shining, took a tremendous toll on her mental health. Over time, she stepped away from the spotlight entirely. For decades, fans wondered what happened to her. Only recently did she reappear publicly, and she looks older, more fragile, but also more open about her experiences. Her story is a reminder that Hollywood's shine can sometimes hide deep personal struggles. Taylor Lautner, the overnight megastar, who wasn't ready for fame after Twilight. Taylor Lautner became massive. Magazine covers, paparazzi everywhere, fans chasing his car. He was just 16 when it all hit. But once the Twilight series ended, Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. Roles were limited, expectations were enormous, and the pressure was overwhelming. Lautner stepped out of the spotlight almost entirely, choosing privacy and peace over chasing stardom. Today, he lives a quieter life, looks more mature, and has re-emerged with a renewed sense of balance. He occasionally appears in fun projects, but he's not trying to recapture the Twilight era hype, and honestly, he seems happier that way. Meg Ryan. Ryan dominated the 90s and early 2000s. You've Got Mail, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle. She was the rom-com queen. Then she disappeared. Media scrutiny, intense tabloid pressure, and unfair criticism pushed her away. Ryan later admitted that fame became too toxic, and stepping back was the healthiest option. Today she looks older, wiser, and much more comfortable living life outside the Hollywood grind. She occasionally directs or produces, but acting is no longer her main priority. Gene Hackman. The legend who retired quietly, Gene Hackman had a career most actors only dream of: The French Connection, Unforgiven, Hoosiers, a true Hollywood legend. Then in 2004 he simply stopped. No big farewell tour. No dramatic announcement. He just retired. Hackman has said he wanted a slower life, writing novels, relaxing, avoiding the long hours of film production. Today he looks much older but still sharp and content. His disappearance wasn't a mystery, it was just a man choosing peace over fame. Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett was huge in the early 2000s. Pearl Harbor, Black Hawk Down, 40 Days and 40 Nights. Studios wanted him for everything. But the industry pressure nearly broke him. He stepped away to avoid the Hollywood burnout machine, turning down massive roles that could have made him even bigger. For years he lived quietly, taking small indie roles instead of big blockbusters. Today, Hartnett looks more mature, grounded, and less like the heartthrob he once was, and that's exactly how he likes it. He's reappeared in some major projects recently, showing that stepping away didn't ruin his career, it probably saved it. Mara Wilson. Wilson was the face of childhood movies in the 90s. Matilda, Mrs. Doubtfire, Miracle on 34th Street. But as she grew older, she realized acting didn't make her happy. She stepped away entirely to focus on writing and advocacy work, openly discussing the difficulties of growing up in the spotlight. Today she looks very different from her child star days, more confident, expressive, and self-assured. She hasn't returned to acting, but she's found fulfillment in entirely different creative spaces. Jack Gleason. Gleason became globally known for playing Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones. His performance was so convincing that audiences hated the character maybe too much. After the intensity of the role, Gleason stepped away from Hollywood, saying he never wanted that level of fame again. He went back to school, did small theater work, and lived a quiet life. Today he looks older, calmer, and much more at ease, far from the villain he played. His disappearance wasn't a breakdown. It was a conscious choice to protect his peace. Hollywood loves success stories, but it doesn't always show the struggles behind the scenes. Some actors disappear because of burnout. Others leave for family, health, personal peace, or simply because they've already lived the dream and want something different. What's fascinating is how differently they all look today: older, wiser, more relaxed, and in many cases, happier than they were at their peak. Fame isn't always the goal. Sometimes the biggest success is stepping away. Let me know which actor's story surprised you the most.